Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week is G.I. Joe! Real American Hero Silent Missions Jinx issue number 1. Now this is written and illustrated by Danny with co-writing by Dan Waters and coloring by Brad Simpson. No lettering, not really, because it's a silent issue. So G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, they're basically doing a series of weekly one-shots to homage the classic G.I. Joe number 21 by Larry Hama and company. That was a silent issue. An issue with no dialogue. Now let's be honest, all comic books are technically silent, though there are some exceptions to that rule. The Godzilla, King Kong, Justice League book that had the sound effect like a Hallmark card. There's some Transformers and Void Rivals reprints that are coming out like that. But G.I. Joe Real American Hero Silent Missions Jinx is a master class in graphic storytelling. This is how it's done. Sequential storytelling by a master, Danny. Now, Danny is an exceptional artist, and she is really putting in the work here to tell the story visually. Now, you also have Dan Waters, who is the co-writer, and I love the whole setup of this issue. The setup of the issue is this. Jinx is infiltrating a Cobra base. She's got a bomb. She times it for 20 seconds. She's got 20 seconds to get out, right? And each page is a second in real time. Absolutely fantastic, pretty much flawless storytelling, amazing coloring from Brad Simpson. There is a limited color palette here, but it works exceptionally well. So I think that this tells you the power of the comic book format, of the medium that we love, that we know as comic books. This book blew me away. I really loved it. I think it goes above and beyond many other silent issues, if you will. It had a great breakneck pace to it. It had a very easy to understand story, and it all unfolded visually. Brad Simpson's colorings is absolutely amazing. Danny's artwork and storytelling is masterful, and Dan Waters, of course, there, probably to throw in little bits like the idea that each page is a second. Really great concept, really amazing execution, and brilliant line work and coloring. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Silent Missions, Jinx, issue number 1. It's just a one-shot. There's only going to be one issue. But they could do a whole series like this, and I would buy every single one. That's your pick of the week. Also from Image, we have Golden Rage, Mother Knows Best, issue number 1. So I picked this up and I read it and I was like, wait a second. I feel like I've read this story before. Is this the second volume of something? And it is, in fact. Like, I remember reading Golden Rage now, but I don't know if I ever actually finished it. But the basic premise of Golden Rage is this. When women hit a certain point, when they're no longer able to bear children, for instance, they get sent to this island to live out their lives in a no man's land, escape from New York type scenario, right? And I don't know if I ever read the original one all the way through, but when I was reading this, I was completely captivated and enthralled and engaged yet again. It was a really cool story, a really interesting take on this concept, and yeah, honestly, I don't know if I ever finished Golden Rage. But this was pretty good. The coloring was really good. The coloring is by Sophie Dotchin and Shane Hannah Kuei. Lauren Knight on the artwork there. I liked the book. I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. And maybe I need to go back and check it out and see if I actually finished Golden Rage. Imagine the Golden Girls meets Battle Royale. That's kind of what the premise of the book is, but this is picking up after that initial concept, and it's elevating its own concept in an exceptional fashion. All right, also from Image, we got Geiger issue number 13, The Glowing Man Meets the Glowing Woman. So we have learned a little bit more about this new character, the Glowing Woman, her origin, her past, how it ties into Geiger's origin and Geiger's past. And we've learned that it's not all quite what it seems, right? So in issue number 13, we're building up from that concept, but at the same time doing something very interesting and kinetic at the same time. This book was amazing. Gary Frank's artwork was splendid. Brad Anderson's coloring was top-notch, and the writing from Jeff Johns was absolutely stellar. This book was super cool. Geiger continues to be one of my favorite comic books out there. If you're not reading Geiger, what the hell is wrong with you, right? We got Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, issue number 19. Sadly, we are kicking off the final story arc of Daniel Warren Johnson on Transformers. Does that suck? Yes. Is it awesome? Yes. It can be both things. It can be sad and tragic, and it can be exhilarating and happy all at the same time. So we had a big reveal in the last issue that Megatron is back. So what we're doing here in the pages of issue number 19 is throwing back a little bit and telling a story pre-Transformers number 1 about Megatron and his journey through the trials of the Quintesson. It is really freaking good. It is awesome. And y'all, Megatron is one of my favorite fictional villain characters ever. You got Dracula, you got Doctor Doom, and you got Megatron pretty much, right? Like, I love Skeletor and Cobra Commander, but they're kind of like cowardly figures. Megatron has never been portrayed as a cowardly figure. And this book goes to much lengths to let us know why that is the fact. Also, we get, finally, the Energon universe alternate versions of Megatron. We get his alt forms, right? So, we know that Megatron was a pistol in the original lore, but we also know that it's been changed to a tank. The way that Daniel Warren Johnson is able to play with that concept and elevate it just a little bit works so well. All right, now we do have a different artist here. It's Ludo Lullaby, and the art is okay. It's probably some of the weakest art we've seen so far in an Energon Universe Transformers book, but it does work. It doesn't quite have the grit and the texture, but it does have the scintillating pace and layouts of a Daniel Warren Johnson book. So I really liked it. I thought it was super solid. Transformers continues to be gold. Speaking of Daniel Warren Johnson, we got The Moon is Following Us, issue number 8. What a heart-wrenching gut punch of an issue. Daniel Warren Johnson is so great at telling us interesting concepts with stories, but at the same time, grounding it and making it feel real and emotionally palpable. And that's what's going on here in The Moon is Following Us, issue number 8. Really big moments in this issue. Really great stuff. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. Riley Rossmo utilized the best since his work on Green Wake. This book was amazing. You got a few pages from Daniel Warren Johnson, or a few instances. The way that Rossmo and Johnson are able to alternate their styles to structure the story narratively with the artwork visually is absolutely exceptional, and I think the book is freaking awesome. This book is amazing. It's nearing its end, but don't let that fool you. Keep jumping in if you haven't already. This book is amazing, and it's going to be one of the best of the year. Then we got Phantom Road, issue number 11. Phantom Road has been gone for months. And when I first sat down to read this issue, I was a little nervous. Now, this is a Jeff Lemire book with artwork by Gabriel Hernandez Walta. Now, I love Walta's artwork, especially for a story like this. He was the artist on the Vision series by Tom King, which was absolutely stunning. However, he recently did an issue of Absolute Batman that didn't quite work for me, right? Because it just didn't fit the dynamic of the artistic quality of that book. Or not the artistic quality, but the artistic like, well, I don't know what's the word. I can't even think about it right now, but the artistic, like, I'll think of it later. But Phantom Road, issue number 11, even though this book's been gone for a while, and I was nervous about how it would pull me back into the book, because one of the issues I have had with Phantom Road was that I kind of fell out of the story, but each issue kept pulling me back in. And I thought with this book being off the radar for so long that that would be the case here, but we pull the story back. We go back in time. How far? Back in time. And we tell a story that is revealing a lot about what the Phantom Road is, how it connects to supernatural ideas in the world, and Walter's artwork was amazing. And this was what I was trying to say. Walter, his art is not quite up to the assignment of the dynamic quality of Absolute Batman. But it does work for a book like Vision or Phantom Road. This was a really great return to this series. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Phantom Road number 11 was dope. But if you haven't been reading it, this book's going to do nothing for you, so definitely get caught up on that book. Then we got Spawn 363 here. We had a big reveal at the end of Spawn 362. That ending kind of gets undercut just a little bit here in this issue. Brett Booth's artwork is okay. There are some interesting concepts that get played with here that are set up to be a bigger deal in the Spawn universe. Spawn is still a cardstock cover at $2.99. Not for too much longer. In June, Todd is going to have to cave in and raise the prices to $3.99. Meanwhile, Marvel and DC, they're like $4.99, $5.99. So Todd is still ahead of the curve when it comes to giving you maximum quality for your dollar. Maximum value for your dollar. So definitely check that one out. Then we got Assorted Crisis Events, issue number 1. It's a second printing. I've already talked about this book. I love this book. Why am I bringing it back up? Because we got a variant cover or a regular cover for the second print by Filia Bertukin, who worked with Dennis Camp on the book Agent of World. That's an amazing cover, and guess what? It gets the cover of the week, so there you go. Jumping over to DC, we got Fire and Ice, When Hell Freezes Over, issue number 1. So this is a follow-up to Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, where the Justice League International characters of Fire and Ice, they wound up in Smallville, operating a hair salon. It was cute, it was charming, it was interesting, and I read the whole series. So when this came out, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I really want to read this one again. Like, I get it. It was charming. It was cute. It was engaging. But do I really need to get back to this book, tell a different story with a different creative team? And honestly, yes, I'm all for it. Stephen Byrne's artwork is okay. I wish it could be something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more sexy. But the art gets the job done. But the story, the characters, that's where this book excels, right? So as a result of the absolute power shenanigans, Fire and Ice have had their powers swapped, and they're dealing with the idea of being disgraced heroes is the wrong word, but kind of almost like forgotten about or disrespected heroes. They're dealing with that with this new life that they've created and carved out for themselves while switching their powers. Really interesting dynamics being played with here with the characterization and the personality of these characters. I thought this book was cute, charming, and fun, and very, very interesting and introspective at the same time. So I like this book. It's got some great covers. Check it out. Then we get Absolute Batman, issue number 7. Absolute Batman's been one of those books where I think it's so dumb, but yet at the same time fun. It's like gigantic moronic splendor. Big dumb fun, right? Issue number 7 has a guest artist. It's, was it Marcos Martin? Yeah, Marcos Martin, and this is a story called Absolute Zero, which is the origin of the Absolute Mr. Freeze. Now, When Walter, for instance, was on as a guest artist a few issues ago, the art didn't work kinetically for me, and it didn't feel like the same kind of vibe that we're getting from Nick Dragotta. Now, Martin is not giving us the Nick Dragotta style, but he's giving us his own style, but I do feel like it's in the same wheelhouse as what Nick Dragotta is building up already with this book. It's really cool. I thought this was one of the better issues of Absolute Batman. I think this book is getting better. It's solidifying itself and its vision. And I think Scott Snyder's doing a great job with the story. This is a more interesting take on a different version of Mr. Freeze than, for instance, the New 52 version, which I thought was neat enough, but at the same time just didn't quite work for me. It works here. This is a different Mr. Freeze than we're used to, and at the same time, while telling this story, we're revealing bits and pieces of Bruce's past, including the origin of Absolute Matches Malone. So I like that. I like the dichotomy of Matches Malone, Matches Fire, and Mr. Freeze, Cold Ice. I thought that was cool. I loved this issue. For a fill-in issue, it works absolutely splendidly. Then we got Batman Dark Patterns issue number 5. Dan Watters, Hayden Sherman. Y'all, I'm loving this book. It's what, a 12-issue series, I believe, but it's all set up with 3-issue arcs. So we had the Wounded Man for issues 1 through 3. In issue number 4, Dan Watters delivers a really interesting concept that we've never really seen in Batman mythology, and that's the idea of Scarface, aka the ventriloquist. But this is all set early in Batman's career. But what if the spirit of Scarface, after the puppet has been destroyed, takes over an entire apartment building? So Batman is basically fighting against an entire apartment building that is infused with the energy of Scarface. It works so freaking well. The story is deep, it's interesting, it's a cool concept, it's a new twist on a very familiar story, and at the same time, Hayden Sherman delivering some of the best artwork of their career. They are one of my absolute favorite artists out there. Batman Dark Patterns will let you know why. Especially because Hayden's also doing this at the same time while doing Absolute Wonder Woman and other works. Like, Hayden is one of the most prolific and exciting artists in comics today. And Batman Dark Patterns will prove to you why. Visually, but also conceptually with the story. Then we got Aquaman issue number 4. Jeremy Adams has been doing a really solid and consistent job on Green Lantern. I had very high hopes for him on Aquaman. 4 issues in, he has not disappointed me. This is a badass version of Arthur Curry. Aquaman, one of my favorite heroes of all time. I'm a huge mark for Aquaman, and I'm loving this run. I also love how connected and plugged in it is to the DC All-In initiative, right? The whole idea about Darkseid dying but infusing his energy into the Absolute Universe, it's all tied into the disappearance of Atlantis and the current journey of Aquaman. The artwork by John Timms is incredibly energetic, and the story concepts and the way that it's told visually, they're top-notch. It's working for me. If you've been hesitant to read an Aquaman comic book, but you love DC, this is the one that's going to hook you in. Great stuff here. Let me show you a great page in the artwork here. Let's find a good page that's going to make you go, oh shit, Robbie, you're right. How about that one? I mean, it's a big double-page splash. I could pick something better. Could I? Where are we at here? Just the artwork is amazing. It's so freaking good. And the characterization of Aquaman and the way it, like I said, is plugged into DC continuity works so well for me. Then we got Action Comics 1085. We're still doing the Superman Superstars thing where they're bringing in superstar creators to do 3-issue arcs of Action Comics. This one's alright. It's written by G. Willow Wilson. That's why I picked it up. I kind of fell out of the John Ridley story. I wasn't quite vibing with that. G. Willow Wilson's been doing a great job over at Poison Ivy. Of course, the co-creator of Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. So I was excited to check this one out, and it's all right. It's kind of a basic Superman story. Superman's got to go to the Arctic as Clark Kent to investigate a story. He's playing his role. There are polar bears. I don't know. It just didn't quite work for me, and I think I'm just going to wait till this Superstars thing is over and we can get a good cohesive vision on Action Comics. Then we got Batman and Robin issue number 20. The best issue of Philip Kennedy Johnson on Batman and Robin yet. I thought about dropping this book. I was pretty much done with it, but it was kind of a light week. So I read Batman and Robin number 20, and holy cow, it was great. So in this issue, the way that it's structured is that Bruce is trying to figure out where his missing son is, Damian Wayne, aka Robin, right? And what he's doing is he goes through his journal, but the journal is pretty much a comic book. Like we know through this series, Josh Williamson set this up, that Damian Wayne is a big fan of manga, and his journal is its own comic book. And you get to see that. So you get an introspective look into the mind of Damian Wayne through not just his thoughts, but also through his artwork, and Bruce learning that at the same time we do. It was really interesting. This story, I feel, has been going on maybe just a tad too long, but this issue was really solid. It solidified the concept and the conceit behind this book. I thought it was really, really freaking good. Then we got Green Lantern Corps, issue number 3. Jeremy Adams is here with a co-writer, Morgan Hampton, and they're doing a fine job. There's some big revelatory moments here, some big epic moments, and the only thing, as much as I love the Pasaran artwork, I do feel like with more double page spreads, less panels on certain pages, these concepts, these ideas could really kind of elevate themselves a bit higher than we get visually in the book. So Green Lantern Corps issue number 3, concept and writing and characterization, as far as that goes, it was amazing. The artwork is solid too, but I wish it could be a little bit bigger, a little bit more explosive, and a little bit more dynamic. That's what I want from the artwork in this book, because we're dealing with some really crazy, heavy concepts. All right, then we got DC versus Vampires World War V, issue number 8. This is the book that never ends. I feel like DC vs. Vampires has run its course multiple times, but Matthew Rosenberg and Otto Schmidt are still bringing me into this book. They're hooking me. They are engaging me, right? And the introduction of the new gods into this world really sets it apart, really makes it exciting. And even though this was a book that I gave up on a while ago in the middle of Volume 1, even though I didn't finish Volume 1, I'm here with Volume 2, and I keep getting sucked in more and more. Now, I am a huge Jack Kirby New Gods fan, but seeing them interact with this iteration of the DCU, plagued by a vampire outbreak, absolutely amazing stuff. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel Comics, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1. A first issue collector's item, everybody. That's right. Amazing Spider-Man has relaunched yet again, but it gives everybody who's fallen out of this book over so many different eras over the last few years, if not decades, a chance to jump back in, and this is a great chance to jump back in. It's written by Joe Kelly. Now, Joe Kelly was, of course, the head writer of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, but he had other writers come in to kind of fill out that story, so I don't feel like that was really Joe Kelly kickstarting his run. Now, Joe Kelly is an amazing creator. He's the co-creator of Ben 10 along with Joe Casey and Steven Seagal and Duncan Rouleau. Like, I really respect Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly, along with Christopher Priest, is one of the people I think that is really monumentally essential to the success of the character of Deadpool. Now, much respect to Rob Liefeld, the creator of the character. Much respect to Fabian Nicieza, who really helped develop that character. But Joe Kelly and Christopher Priest in that initial solo Deadpool run really helped cement that character and who he is. And that run was really solid, right? So here, Joe Kelly is on Spider-Man. Why has Joe Kelly never been on Spider-Man before? right? Now, I know he just did the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, but before this, and Joe Kelly did some work during the Brand New Day era, right? But this is a perfect writer for Amazing Spider-Man. And this is a perfect first issue that doesn't really dwell too much on what came before, but at the same time is creating a new space for lapsed readers and new readers to jump into the world of Peter Parker. So it's Peter with a new job, with a new mission. All that is there, but it feels classic, like the Parker luck, trying to get a job. He's broke, balancing everything, but the artwork by Pepe Larraz is freaking stunning. Look at that double-page spread right there with Spider-Man versus the Rhino. There's another double-page spread that I want to share real quick. Look at that one. Super freaking cool. Really great stuff. Regardless of what you've thought about Amazing Spider-Man over the last few years, this is a great jumping on point, and I do believe that this is going to be a really cool and substantial and exciting run. How long can we keep Pepe Larraz on the book? We shall see. But if the fill-in artists are decent enough, it's going to work. Amazing Spider-Man #1, it works for me. Then we got the Ultimates, issue number 11, from my boy Dennis Camp with artwork by Juan Ferreira? What's his name? Where's it at? Where's the credits at? Yeah, Juan Frigeri is here again. All right, so this was a really good issue of the Ultimates, and Dennis Camp has been doing a great job with this series of making each issue significant and kind of one and done, but tying it all together with the thread of not just the Ultimates, but this Ultimate Universe. We're building up to a big crossover, right? We're building up to the Maker returning, and Dennis Camp knows now that he's got the gig to bring this all together. And it's working so well in the pages of the Ultimates. So this is an issue that we've been wanting, which is more of an elaborative story about the past of Thor and Sif and the introduction of Ultimate Loki. And it works exceptionally well because Dennis Camp knows what he's doing, right? So each issue here, or each page in this issue, is a splash page with... So think of it like Superman Volume 2, issue number 75, which was The Death of Superman by Dan Jurgens. Each issue is a splash page, and there's a little bit of dialogue there, but most of the issue is a narration of like this epic poem. And I think it works so freaking well for this book. It is absolutely stunning. It is stellar. It is exciting. It is crucially awesome. Everybody should be reading The Ultimates, and issue number 11 is no exception. And if you've been waiting to learn more about Thor and Sif and the introduction of Loki, well, it's here, but at the same time, it's different than what we thought we were going to get, but better than what we thought we were going to get. Does that make sense? Then we got the Uncanny X-Men issue number 13. I've been liking this book. It's kind of dwindled a little bit in the last few issues because David Marquez wasn't on the artwork. Plus, they had to tie into these crossovers. Now, all that shit is all over. So we got the return of David Marquez and the return of just this book focusing on its own story, and it works so well. The artwork is great. The story is great. It sets up this new interesting thing going on with the Outliers, these kids that Rogue and her new band of X-Men are helping to develop. We're continuing their story. We're deepening the mystery of Gambit and what's going on with him and that dragon character. Gail Simone's actually thinking long-term with this book, and it's working for me. Uncanny X-Men issue number 13 was the best issue of this book in probably a few months, honestly, since the first arc. I would agree. Then we got Storm issue number 7, y'all. What if I told you that Storm is low-key becoming one of the best Marvel comics out there? That is what I'm going to tell you. Storm is one of the best Marvel comics out there currently. It is absolutely exceptional. So this book has been written with some really cool concepts by a really great writer, Moreira Aodeli. Aodeli is doing such a great job of taking the character of Storm. And I was talking about this at the shop today, right? I was talking about this. I said, Storm is becoming one of the best Marvel books out there, if not the best Marvel book out there, right? And one of my coworkers was like, really? I thought all the X-Men books have sucked for years. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I understand why you would think that, but they have really low-key kind of taken Storm and elevated it to a cosmic level that to me is freaking exceptional, right? Storm is now like cosmically powered, but the way that they're doing that with that character, it feels earned, it feels exciting, and it feels necessary. This book soars. It really does. Storm is, I think Storm might be my favorite Marvel comic right now. Really, really is. And I can boldly make that declaration with confidence because here in issue number 7, we have Luciano Vecchio on the artwork. Y'all, I love this dude's artwork. It is so freaking badass. The artwork is amazing. Let me find you a good couple pages there. It's great. It's absolutely stellar. And then you've got one of my favorite undersung X-Men characters being involved, Maggot. Maggot's the best X-Men character that everybody else hates. I'm gonna live and die on that. Put it on my tombstone. Rockin Robbie Billups died this year, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully like 80 years from now. Rockin Robbie Billups lived to 120 and still says that Maggot's his favorite X-Men character of all time. The concept, the elevation of the character of Aurora Monroe, like freaking awesome. Storm is Marvel's best book right now. I'll say that. Star Wars Jedi Knights, issue number 2. Y'all, I made it through 2 issues of a recent Marvel Star Wars comic. That's pretty freaking cool. So this is a book that's set before Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon Jinn is still alive. The Jedi Council's doing their thing. The Jedi Order is well at the peak of their career. There's a mystery on this planet. Yoda and this other character go to scope it out. And it works. This book has been cool. I've liked it. Like, as far as Star Wars goes, I haven't really been into the comics for a few years. I haven't really been into the movies for a few decades, I guess. But Jedi Knights is actually working for me. I thought issue number 2 was really cool. In prequel era stuff, it's really getting the job done. Jedi Knights is a cool book. Decent artwork, solid story. And honestly, that's all I expect from a Marvel Star Wars book. And they're working. All right, from Dark Horse, we have Vatican City, issue number 1, a new book from Mark Miller. Artwork by Per Berg. Not a lot of people are going to like this artwork. It's going to be a little bit too rough, too loose for some people, but for me, it works. The basic premise of this book, and it doesn't feel like it's connected to the shared universe, I guess, the Millerverse or whatever, but vampires are real. We've seen that in Mark Miller stuff because he did Nightclub, which is a pretty good book, but vampires exist. They take out the United States. Now they're going after the Vatican, and there's something buried in the Vatican that is related to why they're doing what they're doing. Cool concept, a great first issue, really interesting. Not a lot of people are going to be vibing with the artwork, but it works enough for me. I liked it. I thought it was interesting, and I love the idea. We've seen vampires in fiction so many times. I'm a huge vampire fan. Look at my shirt. Fright Night's one of my favorite movies. I love vampire fiction. In comics, sometimes it always feels dated and boring and yesterday's news. Here in Vatican City, it works. It works so well, and it doesn't have to fit in with the Miller World stuff that he's building with all of his other titles. But even if it was connected, it would still freaking work, and I would love to see it be connected. But this was a really solid book. If you're a fan of Mark Millar, definitely check that out. And then we got Jump Scare issue number 2. Cullen Bunn, Danny Luckert. The artwork is amazing. This is the artist from Red Mother, one of my favorite books the year it came out. And Cullen Bunn is a very prolific and acceptable writer, right? So this is tied into this whole world that he's already created, Beyond Mortal Universe or whatever. There was like a graphic novel that set all this up, but you don't need that, because I didn't read it. You don't need that to enjoy Jump Scare. Jump Scare is about a hero in this world where heroes and villains are being born for the first time. But she's basically a superhero whose power is to call upon any weapon she can remember from a horror film. So, horror fans, check this book out. This is the superhero book for old school, hardcore horror fans. And I'm telling you this as an old school horror fan. Like, seriously, Jump Scare is amazing. All right, a collection I want to bring up from Pantheon is Paul Auster's New York trilogy. It's got City of Glass, Ghosts, and The Locked Room. So this is 3 adaptations of Paul Auster's work. I've never read any of these, but I know I want to read City of Glass. I've been wanting to read City of Glass for a while. My buddy Brian, what's up, B-Dubs? How you doing, man? Love you. Brian has let me borrow his copy of City of Glass for a while, but when I saw that there was this hardcover coming out that had City of Glass and other books, you got work from Paul Karasik, Lorenzo Mattoli, and David Mazzucchelli. Anything that David Mazzucchelli is a part of, I'm going to check it out. So this is something you need to check out if you love the elevation of comic book art and comic book storytelling. Definitely check it out. And if your shop doesn't have it, ask them to stock it. Most of the time, that will work. So the New York trilogy is out this week. So to recap, Jump Scare was awesome. Horror fans need to check that out. Vatican City was a really cool Mark Millar vampire story that maybe the art's not for everybody, but it was definitely for me. Star Wars Jedi Knights. I'm enjoying this Star Wars book. Storm is the best Marvel comic out there right now. Uncanny X-Men is solidifying and going back to basics and being really, really freaking awesome. Ultimates is one of the top 5 best Marvel books out there. Amazing Spider-Man #1. This is a great jumping on point for Amazing Spider-Man. I'm rather excited for that run. DC versus Vampires World War V continues to elevate. Green Lantern Corps could have a little bit more explosive and energetic artwork, but aside from that, the story and the concepts are right there. Batman and Robin, issue number 20, best issue of Philip Kennedy Johnson's Batman and Robin yet. Action Comics, 1085, didn't quite work for me. Aquaman is soaring, or should I say sinking, but in a good way. Batman Dark Patterns, what an interesting concept and take on the whole ventriloquist thing. That's awesome. Absolute Batman, the origin of Absolute Mr. Freeze, and it's so good. The art's great. The story's great. Absolute Batman's getting better and better. Fire and Ice, When Hell Freezes Over, is better than it deserves to be. Assorted Crisis Events gets the cover of the week, the second printing. Spawn was all right. Some interesting things being developed there. Phantom Road is back, and man, it's still freaking good. And then we got The Moon is Following Us, continuing to do what Daniel Warren Johnson does best, including Transformers, a big Megatron-centric issue. Geiger was freaking spectacular. Golden Rage, this is a follow-up to a previous series. I don't even know if I finished, but I really do like it. But the pick of the week is G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe! Real American Hero, Silent Missions Jinx, Danny and Dan Waters. A sequential storytelling masterpiece. But we didn't do the smell of the week. It's over there. Let me go grab it. You can still hear me, though you can't see me. There's a facsimile version of Superman 233 that is out this week with the famous Neil Adams cover. It's a story by Denny O'Neil and Kurt Swan. I've never read this book. I'll check it out, but DC's been doing these facsimiles with foils for no additional cost. Maybe $1 more, but not quite like what Marvel's doing, right? But they're printing them on a newsprinty type thing, and they will always get the smell of the week. So anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for watching the video. Keep on reading. Keep on rocking. Pop, pop, station, boom. If you smell what DC facsimiles are cooking. Bitches, come on, suck it.